Hey guys, welcome to the Complete Developer Raw, a live show with Will and BJ. How you guys doing? There we are. We are on the screen now. So, what's going on with y'all? This evening, I am Irishing it up, drinking a little bit of Guinness.
Nice.
Which, by the
I'm
way, I haven't gotten a beard trim in a while, so I might get a little bit of foam in my beard. Just a heads up, y'all, if you catch that. Uh,
yeah, well, I'm rednecking it up. I'm drinking Mountain Dew. So
nice, nice, very nice.
yeah, I'm just trying to stay awake. It's been a rough week.
Well, so I got a new mouse finally. I've been using my portable mouse, the one that I carry in my bag, and then I had this older one. Both of them are Bluetooth, and not they're okay for travel and stuff like that, but not the best for just like your regular home use. So I went out and got myself a nice new. It's the G GS 502 Hero. I'm trying to bring it over. You guys can, yeah. What's really cool is you guys can see it's got weights in it, so you can actually adjust the weights. But I have them all in there just because I like it heavy. I don't know. I mean, it's just me. Oh, also the uh, the reason for the season, no, the mouse, and the fact that I don't have speakers in here and a new keyboard is well, actually I'm using an old keyboard, but the USB hub that blew. So I just got myself a new one of those too. It's got 10 USB threes um, all around it. What I like is that I can set it down and like have just all the regular ones on the back that I don't mess with, and then I've got like three on the front and two on the side that I can adjust. So like if I just got something that I plug in every now and then, it's really cool. I like it. Let's see. Used Monday to get things done and caught up, and got my car back. Did I tell you guys about that?
Nice.
Yeah, only $60 to replace a gasket in it, so that wasn't bad. But that's all I really got going on. What about you, man?
Dude, we're trying to get a release out at work,
Mm-hmm.
and we've kind of hit a few little pain points. We figured out that there's some process stuff that we need to do a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, like the last minute bugs, and it's you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's going to be a pretty major bit of work to fix this thing. It's not just one little deal. So I've been dealing with all that, which is it's chewing up all kinds of time. Like I think I really only have to work like an hour tomorrow to get to my 40 for the week. And I'll obviously probably work 8 or 9. It's just been a ton of stuff going on there. And last weekend, I wrote 36 pages for the book net. I probably got another 14 or 15 in of editing. So I think I got close to 50 pages of writing done last weekend. Like that's all I did.
That's really awesome. That's
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Um, it is a ton of stuff. So it's gonna be pretty good, I think. I'm just trying to get everything done, for the editorial calendar, which is pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's a lot of stuff going on. The other thing is, man, Nashville is flooded. I went to work this morning and it took me an extra 30 minutes to get there because the way I normally go is kind of back roads because I like being able to see the deer and the turkeys and not see the turkeys that are driving and having wrecks because they're on their cell phones. Like you can't go down that road that I take to work and be on a cell phone. You'll crash. It's really curvy and all that.
Yeah.
And so the place I normally see, the turkeys and stuff out, I crested the hill and there weren't turkeys out there. There were geese, lots of geese. They were real happy because it was all flooded. We're like 500 yards of just water. They're like, well,
Wow.
I had to turn around and go back another way. And then I went a little further and went on a different shortcut. And then that was flooded. And yeah, it was awful getting to work. It was awful getting home. School's out tomorrow here in Davidson County as well. So
Yeah.
that's a plus. I want to get up at like 5 a.m. and go into the office and see if I can get some stuff done before everybody else gets there.
Mm-hmm. So school was out today in Rutherford County, which I'm another county out from Davidson. So I'm like there's Davidson, then Rutherford, and then I'm in Bedford. So I'm just barely outside of it. But I to go into town, I go into Rutherford County, and the schools were out today. I found that out last night. I was hanging out with some friends. They got the call for it, and so. Yeah, it was interesting driving by through a school zone earlier today, and like everybody's slowing down. I'm like, but the school's not in. What?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But people are paranoid about the fines and everything else, you know.
Oh yeah.
And plus, I just think a lot of people just don't pay attention. Like I just, especially first thing in the morning.
Well, this was in the afternoon, but yeah, no, I mean, if I hadn't been like hanging out with a friend of mine for dinner yesterday evening and heard it, I wouldn't have known. Like,
yeah.
He got the call and he was like, "Oh, school's out tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So.
Yeah. So basically, all I've been doing is working. So.
Looks like we got a couple people on the Facebook Live. Glenn Miller says, "Good evening, Code Slayers." So that's a new one. I kind of like this term. Do I get a
Code Slayers?
Yeah. I mean, do I get a sword or do I get a Mr. Pointy?
I don't know.
Reference. It's obscure, but it's a Buffy reference. So I don't know if you guys are down with the Buffiness. And then Josh Kilgore's on, and Michael Peterson says, "What's up, guys? I'm in my second semester at the local community college for web development. I've had classes in HTML, CSS, VB.net, and currently studying ASP.net and PHP MySQL. What do you think I should really focus on when I have spare time?" So this is really cool. So we have like a live question going on right now. Glenn responds Visual Studio Code to him. So my question to you, Michael, is what do you want to do? That really is going to determine where you need to put your focus.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the other thing too is just listening to all the stuff that it sounds like he's doing. Mm-hmm. Does he have spare time? Because that sounds like a lot, you know, switching from VB to PHP.
Well, see, those are classes. The classes that he's already taken is VB and HTML. The classes that he's currently taking are ASP and PHP.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even so, like those two together, that's a lot. I would probably start focusing on, some database stuff, start trying to get that in, cause then you'll have full stack. Mm-hmm. And, that's probably where I would go. Plus a lot of times people kind of take a while to get the grip on the database like they really need, even if you have classes and stuff. So that might be worth doing. Another thing that might be worth doing is really ramping up on the JavaScript. It kind of depends on which end of the system you want to be on.
That's very true. So yeah, it really depends, Michael, a lot on what you want to do and where you want to do it. For example, when I was first learning, I wanted to stay here in Nashville or the surrounding area. Obviously, I'm not in town, but I wanted to stay around this area. Well, I looked at what the jobs were, and most of the jobs were .NET, ASP.NET mostly. So that's where I put my focus. I really focused in on that, and then on the front end, I learned quite a bit about Angular because that seemed to be what everybody was going with around here. But that was because I wanted to stay in this area. Now, your goals may be different, and so it sort of depends. Like, if your goals are not a specific area, like geographic area, but you want to work on the front end, work on the back end, do something like that, then that's going to determine where you need to put your focus.
Yeah, and and the other thing too is with Nashville, stuff changes. Like if you want to stay in this area now, I would recommend canoeing lessons. So
Well, there is that. I mean, come on, it's what was it, May of 2010
yeah.
that we had the big flood. I'm just glad I'm not working in the emergency room. I was working the ER back then.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post yesterday where somebody back home, an Amish guy, had gotten his buggy stuck in the water,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to figure out like how do you, because it's not like it's not got a motor that gets flooded, right? Like there's a horse at the front of that.
Yeah.
So was the horse stuck?
Hmm.
And it wasn't real clear from the picture, and it's like we don't deal well with lots of water
No.
here. Just
So
we're just not built for it.
so Michael comments back, I'm gravitating towards back end stuff so far. Don't have much spare time, but when I do, I've been reviewing my VB book from last semester and doing the challenges. That sounds really good. Um, mm, I'm not sure about VB. It's coming back in popularity, but I think its resurgence has more to do with the apps that were built in it a while back needing to be maintained.
Yeah, it might. I don't know. I really need to look into what is available because I don't even get really updates on what's going on in VB anymore. Um, I can
Yeah.
I can imagine that if people want to do stuff on the .NET platform and they're familiar with other languages that are kind of more human friendly,
Hmm.
that VB would be where they would go if they don't have the C or C++ or Java background. And so maybe that is part of it too. I could
Hmm.
also see that being used for other interesting things maybe that are just not what C sharp folks want to do. Like I know like interacting with COM for a long time was easier in VB.net than it was in C sharp, but I don't know a whole lot of people doing COM stuff anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. We also got a comment from Josh Kilgore. What's up? Finally slayed that SSRS report that I've been fighting for 2 weeks. And if you guys are in the
Nice.
Slack channel, he's been talking about it. Yeah, man. I can do SSRS. I do not put that on my resume because I do not want to do SSRS.
Yeah. Same thing here. I've done SSRS, Crystal reports, Cognos, um, Telerik reports. I mean, I've done reporting in a whole bunch of different platforms, but I never ever admit it.
Yeah.
It's like just I treat reporting like something that has a statute of limitations on it.
Mhm. All right, so now we've answered a couple of live questions. That was actually fun. We should have more of those guys. That was great. Thanks, Michael, for asking that. Let's hop into the pre-planned questions that we have.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is what do you do when another developer on the team doesn't check into source control in a timely fashion? Now, I've experienced this everywhere I've ever worked at some level, except for a couple places that didn't have source control at all and used folders. Um, yeah, let's just not go there. One thing you need to do is make sure you check in frequently and get ahead of it. And the next thing you need to do is when they check in and they have merge conflicts, don't help them because that's really what's going to get them, right? They have to feel the pain of not checking in frequently.
Hmm.
And there needs to be the natural consequence. Like if you're not in a managerial role, it's kind of their problem, right? Because if they were checking in frequently, there wouldn't be big merge conflicts
So what do you
versus if
do
they,
if it is your manager that's not checking in regularly because they built bad habits?
yeah, I mean, you've got to point that out to them. Just go, look, this would be a lot easier if you checked in more frequently.
Hmm.
The other thing with a manager type that's doing this, right? Like you have less leeway in this situation. But the other thing going on there is you can go, look, I'm not able to get this stuff done because I spent, you know, 4 hours with you working on merge conflicts
Hmm.
that could have been avoided.
Yeah.
You can also point out that, hey, I'm waiting on this stuff from you and I can't do my part of the work until it's in the system.
Hmm. That's a good
So
one. The I have it's back when I was doing more consulting's not the right word. Contracting would be the best word, I guess. Um, I have gone to places where I asked like, all right, where is this in source control? And I was handed a USB drive. That's where they kept the code.
Yeah, it could be worse. They could hand you a backup tape.
There's that.
That's happened to me before.
I believe it.
And it's like, I don't have a 9-track tape reader. What is this crap? Like, I don't know where to even get one of those now. Yeah. So you got that. Now, another thing you can do is you can also build your code such that you don't, interact with their stuff. So you make like a facade class
Yeah.
that, that wraps whatever is expected from them, and you interact with it. And then that way your changes to work with their stuff are just in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's kind of bad though, because what ends up happening, and this is, I forget what the guy's name was, but they basically said the structure of an organization's code eventually mirrors the structure of the organization's communications. And this is that just applied intentionally. You just go, okay, I've got to mitigate the damage that this person does. Because the other thing that happens with people like that is they don't do good work.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can mitigate the damage they do to you, it all lands on them. And that's really kind of where you have to go. Like, they have to feel natural consequences for this. Like, this is not okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, moving on to our second question. When did you know you were ready to get to the next level in your career? Well, Will told me about 6 months before I actually started looking for my first job that I was ready to start looking for my first job. Um, I didn't believe him. I thought he was just trying to like boost my confidence because most of you guys know I was going through some pretty rough times back then, and so I just thought he was trying to boost my confidence. I didn't know I was ready until I actually got out there and I saw other people getting their very first jobs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I was about 6 months ago. Not that they were any worse off than me. It's just that's where I was at that point. So I was like, yeah, that I guess I could have. Um, though I will say that did help me to maintain the job a lot longer, and get a lot more out of it. Honestly, another sign that you're ready to move to the next level is when people start coming to you for assistance. So when you've got enough experience that people start coming and asking you for help, I know that was one thing that really threw me for a loop was when I was a junior, and we don't have senior, we have advanced, so it's sort of a mid-senior mix. Some of the advanced developers started asking me questions about things, some of the newer technologies and stuff that I had been working in, but they didn't have as much experience, or they had been working in an older thing, and then they were moving, like the next project was going to be in the newer stuff. So they were asking like, all right, well, how did you do this? How did you solve this problem? And it really like, Will, you remember when the first time that happened, I'm like, dude, the senior developer asked me how to do something.
Yeah.
We have a really great relationship amongst our developers at work, and there's like a really good attitude, I like to think, at least with the API developers. I get along pretty well with the UI developers as well, and I think they have a good team there too. But I know just the interactions with the other API developers I've had have been really great. Now, honestly, when you're moving up, you're not expected to know everything. I know a lot of the times that I've mentored or advised a junior developer was them asking a question and me going, oh yeah, I remember when I had that problem. Here's how I solved it. I said a couple of months ago, I had our junior API developer ask me a question. He's like, I'm stuck on this. I'm like, oh, do this. He's like, I never would have thought of that. I'm like, yeah, it took me about 3 days to figure that one out. He's like, I'm glad I asked you. So, but honestly, not feeling like you're ready is part of the growth process. So,
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, you're probably ready to move up a level when you start getting bored with what's supposedly at your level. That's usually a sign of moving up. it's that same kind of thing. Like you feel like you don't know it, but like those emotional signs are kind of there. It just makes a lot of sense when you're bored or when you feel like you don't know the stuff at the next step. Like the reason you feel like you don't know the stuff at the next step is because you know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Like you've become first order ignorant.
Yeah, I like that. I would say when you are solidly first order ignorant, like there's I know there's stuff I don't know, but I don't know what it is. It's like 1.5 order ignorant. I don't know. It's knowing that knowing you're second order ignorant of things, knowing that there's things out there you don't know about.
That's getting kicked out of the Dunning-Kruger Club, I think.
Yeah,
that's what that
it's
is.
Like 1.5 order ignorant. First order ignorant, when you're like, all right, I know these things are there. I need to learn them. That's a good place to start looking at. All right, I'm ready to move up. So moving on to our third and final question.
Okay. What things warned you that you should probably look for another job? So there's several things here that could be in the mix. Let's talk first about situations where it looks like layoffs are coming, right? Like if I'm working somewhere and I start seeing that all the management people are leaving, they're going to offsite meetings a lot, and dudes in suits are walking around and they don't tell us who they are, and the toilet paper in the bathroom has gotten to be real low quality. I know that they're having financial problems and they're selling, and they're probably going to start cutting people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like those, you get those kind of warnings. Now, that's what it is. Like you can see those things. There's other obvious stuff, like if your boss starts disrespecting you, in other words, like they start acting like you're a liar, or they don't trust your judgment on stuff. They start micromanaging. It's probably time to start looking, because you're going to go either way. And so anytime I see stuff like that, that's a clear sign. Now, obviously, you don't want to be in a situation where that happens. I would also say, when you start dreading going to work, like it's Sunday night, for instance, and you're sitting there and you're just getting stressed out because tomorrow you have to be in the office, right? Like that's totally normal. We all get that sometimes. But if that's persistent and it's every Sunday, you need to start looking for something else, because you're eventually going to damage that work environment anyway, and you're not going to be there. So that would probably be the main one. That's the main reason I've left most places, is I've sat there and I have started dreading going in on a consistent basis. And when that happens, I'm like, this is not how I want my life to be. And I move on.
I understand that. So guys, let's see. Michael writes back, thanks guys. And as an aside, my teacher said he likes to use VB as a language to start with, because the syntax is more like a spoken language, making it easier to understand the concepts to help learn other languages.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Although it's like a spoken language, but it will mess your English up. I'll just straight up tell you that, because you'll do like while not something, and you'll be talking to somebody and you'll say that and they look at you like, what, is this your second language?
What's funny is I didn't learn VB. I learned QBasic back in high school. And I found like C++ and Pascal easier to understand than the QBasic, because it's more like, I don't know, it fit, I guess, my brain better.
Well, and I kind of realized that as well too. I think a lot of it is that when I see something that looks like natural language, I think it's natural language, and it's not. Mm-hmm. Whereas I don't have that expectation with stuff that is clearly built for a computer.
Yeah. So guys, if you weren't able to listen to us live and you're watching this and you want to ask a question, leave it in the comments. I check there first when looking for questions. Otherwise, you can send us an email to neckbeards@completedeveloperpodcast.com. So I have... I have information on our upcoming episode, but it's not going to be our upcoming episode because we ran into some technical difficulties. We had a really awesome guest on, and unfortunately had some issues with the recording. So we're going to have to get her back on to re-record. And so we were trying to get that one out pretty fast. So the next episode, which one do you want to come out next, Will? Do you want dependency injection or the one that you wrote?
I'd say dependency injection might be a good one for the next one.
All right, guys. So you heard it here first. we just made the decision. The next episode to come out is dependency injection.
And that's really better than the way we normally make decisions because they just sort of happen.
Yeah. So this was a requested episode. When we did our inversion of control episode, we had a comment. Was it an email or a comment? I have to check on that, asking for more information on dependency injection specifically. And so we set this aside as that, all right, let's work on this. I kind of did a deep dive into it. What's fascinating is I've been doing some .NET Core stuff, which has dependency injection built into it. And I've been learning, like, since I wrote the episode, I've gotten an even better understanding of the implementation of these things. The thing about dependency injection is it removes the need to create instances of services within your code. Instead of having a module of code call the other module, it may need to function dependency. Yeah. Wow. That just sort of flowed all sorts of wrong, didn't it, y'all? Instead of having a module of code call the other module that it may need to function, dependency injection passes those into it from the original caller. This is usually a framework or higher level code sitting on top of the custom code that you write for controlling the flow of your application. In the episode, we're going to talk about how dependency injection works, its various parts, the different ways that it's implemented, and finish up discussing some advantages and disadvantages to using a dependency injection framework. So be on the lookout for that. That'll come out next week. Guys, we're going to hop off here and go record that episode, actually. So usually I have said that teaser a couple of times before I read it on live. That's a first, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at least it helps me. Hey, it'll sound better in the episode when you hear it. So, you guys got that to look forward to. Also, big thanks to y'all that are watching live. Love the conversation. This is stuff that we really enjoy, and we're going to head off and talk to you guys later.